Hey, this is Ryan here, and I got Conrad with me again this week, and it's another week and done with F1 racing, and a lot of stuff's happened actually since the last race. Some of the big news is Red Bull canning Liam Lawson. Liam is underperforming. A lot of people online have been saying that it's too harsh. I personally disagree. I think that
You too.
I think that when you lose $10 million each position in the constructors, that you got to make a decision. And at the end of the day, they got data on acceleration, braking, all these things to look at a driver. He's had preseason testing, qualifying, and racing. Maybe I have no emotions or heart, but
No,
you got to give it a try.
Yeah, I'm surprised they did it so quickly. I thought they'd give him a few more races, and you had those qualifying and the practice laps and the testing in the beginning of the year, and you would have had all that same data. So I am surprised that they canned him so early, but I think thinking back, they did it Gasly too quite early in the season, and ultimately, in my opinion, I think in a lot of opinions they should have given it to Yuki in the first place. As Horner's been saying, he's a veteran, he's 4-year. He should have got it in the first place and left Lawson and Red Bulls for a little bit, one more year at least, and then see if Yuki could do it, and then maybe do the flip.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, our next race in 2 weeks is coming up, Suzuka, Yuki's home race. So getting the Red Bull seat he's wanted and racing at home, it's gonna be a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, Yuki's been really good this year, like performing really well. I think a little bit of karma for Liam Lawson because there's a little bit of arrogance, at least what I see. He flipped off Sergio Perez last year. Just a lot of things that are just suspect in the public, I would say. So sometimes you get a little humble pie. But I think it saves him, too, because he can go to the B team, and his career's not ruined, not going through like a full season and sucking, and then they're just like, well, he can't hack it. It's like, save him now, make the decision so that he can actually recover and maybe be on the main team again someday. But
Maybe.
they all say that car is like the bull, the raging bull. So it's like the hardest to drive, but it's also the fastest as a result. And like Max Verstappen obviously is a good driver, so he can
Help develop it in a way from a a driver perspective.
yeah. And well, then I guess they just had a meeting today with him about the engineering and all that stuff. So it's obviously he's got he's one of the best in the world too. So like he's got a huge advantage driving it. So it's hard to just put somebody new in there and expect them to have the same result. But you got to try things.
And you can't expect, like, I find it hard to believe how much tech does not flow down to the Red Bulls team, the B team. Just because it's basically they're the same manufacturer, same engine, and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But the cars are there's quite a gulf between the two. And so maybe they're driving the 24 car right now in the Red Bull.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what Lawson can do. If he continues with this, I think that there's probably other drivers that will be in the Red Bull seat come mid-season if Liam Lawson's not able to have some success.
Yeah, and they said that the RB car is actually easier to drive. Max Verstappen said it was easier to drive than the main car, but same thing. The one's the beast faster, and if you can control the beast, like professional bull riding, you can make it happen.
There you go.
Harness the beast. There was I saw online, and everything is accurate online, that Ocon was Red Bull reached out to him, and then he like turned him down or something.
No.
I don't know. That was last year at the end of the year, I guess, and he didn't want to come over.
He goes to Haas.
Yeah,
Which
so
is, quite a bit of step down.
yeah, maybe he knew the culture and how crazy it is there, and
Better, who knows?
yeah, could have been the pay. I mean, who wouldn't want to be with Haas with no pressure, sitting in the back, and then maybe you do well and you get
people are happy about it.
yeah, and they don't expect anything other than just suck. So
Yeah. I mean, Behrman had a good Chinese Grand Prix. In
Yeah.
the Haas car.
yeah, he did. Yeah. And speaking of Chinese Grand Prix, how about Ferrari and getting disqualified again? So a lot of success. Lewis Hamilton had the fastest lap in history there. I think it was the fastest lap in the sprint. And then the horrible, they just all of a sudden got destroyed in the main race. And then still got disqualified because they got destroyed and they were cheating. So, I mean, pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, the underweight car for Charles was definitely a surprise. That wooden board on the bottom of the car, that's been an issue for a couple seasons. I mean, if you're really cutting it that close and you don't have that width afterwards, or that depth on the board afterwards, you're going to get disqualified. Saw it with Russell last year. Seen it a couple different times. So watching that going forward, they're going to have to change suspension a little bit. We know Lewis likes to ride that car really close to the ground, except when it was porpoising as a Mercedes a couple years ago. But we see that Ferrari does have some pace. whether or not it's a shorter stint. They obviously didn't do as well with the harder tires once that went there, when other cars were a little surprised that hard tire went as long as it did and performed as well as it did at the end of the race. So Ferrari does have a little bit more pace, so we'll see. I think maybe our prediction will come true as they're finishing as the third manufacturer, but again, we don't know. It's still super early.
Yeah, still so early. Red Bull said they're going to make an upgrade between race, I think, 3 and 6. So it's supposed to be a big, significant change. Mercedes is like the sleeper, I feel like. No one's talking about how good they're doing.
Yeah.
I think.
Consistently doing
Isn't he third, Russell?
Yeah, he's been on the podium the last 2 weeks.
And he's third in the standings, I believe.
Yep.
So George Russell's doing a fantastic job. There's all these rumors of Max Verstappen going to Mercedes after next year, but then Toto just said that he wants long-term commitments from his drivers, so I don't know, I kind of squashed that, but the media will still be bringing that up, I'm sure.
Anybody would take Max. Max is a great driver. His performance maybe be tied to the car more in the last year and year and a half. But Russell's their guy going forward. I think Antonelli's also shown himself very well.
He's done really good, yeah.
Finishes. Consistent, not making the rookie mistakes, just getting used to the car, used to driving with this car in with the pack. So he's got a lot of impressive stats about him. I would say that for our Mercedes, probably got their drivers going forward, but you never know. You never know how long things are going to be. Their contracts are what they are, and they can be wooed by other teams very easily.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see also just what happens this season if Red Bull does catch up, because people keep saying, the car's not that good and Max is the one making it happen, but has to be pretty good to get where he's at.
Max is good, but we'll have to see what Yuki can do in Suzuka in a couple weeks. If he can match what Lawson did or improve on it, which is going to be pretty easy to do. But if he's able to get up in there and kind of be better than what Checo was, then we'll see a difference between driver. But if that Red Bull car, the beast, is just too much, if that's built only for Verstappen and nobody else can tame it, then it should be an interesting season when that second car goes.
Yeah, they're going to have a long season then. But it could turn into the same as last year. Red Bull dominated. Looks like McLaren's kind of dominating a little bit with the car. Not by as much, but
I think they're dominating a little bit more already.
not as much as Red Bull was, though. Red Bull was dominating.
Dominant 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Last year was a little bit more of a competition. They definitely.
But the beginning of the season, Red Bull last year was dominating. Then all of a sudden, it just like, woof, everybody.
Upgrade helped a lot.
Yeah, McLaren used that fake DRS in the back and started cheating and then won.
Right now, I think on the manufacturer side, right now McLaren's looking like the huge favorite. I mean, they're finishing their teams in the points both times so far. Obviously, Piastri winning last time and then spinning out the other, but still making up some points, which was very impressive. I think we could have it done and dusted pretty early. It just kind of depends on where Yuki can do. Can he start finishing the points more reliably? What is Ferrari going to do? And Mercedes is in that conversation too, but I think Antonelli has to finish a little higher to push them up in that manufacturer.
Yeah, I think Yuki and Max have the potential to be the best duo besides McLaren. Because right now, Piastri and Lando are by far the best duo.
They are.
Probably. So it's going to be really interesting to see if there's another duo that can catch up. But they also have a fast car, so it's going to be a hard one to win.
I don't see it. I think they're going to be the most competitive duo of any team. But I think there's going to be other drivers. It will be very interesting, as my prediction, that Lando could win the driver championship. Now Piastri's in that conversation too. Obviously finishing lower, his points aren't as high. Lando's number one, but Piastri was up there until he spun last race.
Yep. And for whatever reason, I feel like they think that Piastri is less marketable than Lando, maybe because it seems like they pushed Lando up. It was in Drive to Survive. They talked about, and everyone's giving Zach Thomas or Zach Brown, sorry, not the football player. Zach Brown a lot of flack because he was like, I got two, A drivers, and he didn't try to favor any of them, and then eventually picked Lando. Whether that's real or not, Drive to Survive likes to embellish things a lot.
They do,
but. Like, seeing that, it's interesting because personally, I think that Piastri's the better driver. I think that...
You just dislike Norris because he was number 2 to Verstappen last year.
No.
We'll see.
No.
Piastri's a younger driver. He's got more opportunity. Lando's definitely consistent. But you're right. Piastri's shown some great pace. He drove a little better. I think Lando under pressure hasn't driven as well this season, and Piastri's driven quite well. Having to get back into the points last race was definitely showed some character. Didn't just sit back and accept where he was. So it will be It'll be very fun to watch this season of where it kind of unfolds and where we're going to be in 5 races from now. We'll be having a different discussion.
Yeah, so Japan, who do we think wins in Yuki's hometown now that he's a part of the best team in Formula One?
Well, it's not going to be Yuki.
Who wins?
It'll depend on...
Is it Max Verstappen or is it Yuki?
Those are your only 2 options. No. I don't know. It's a more intricate course than the other ones. It's a little bit tighter on the width of the track, so it'll favor those cars that are a little bit better on aerodynamics, which Red Bull haven't been in the last couple of years. They're better on those longer, straighter tracks. McLaren's shown itself to be both, but I think they're favoring the overall speed a little bit more. So it could be Mercedes could have their hat in the ring, and kind of depends on the tire dag for Ferrari if they're going to get their name in there. But if I had to pick anybody, I think I'd pick Max. Won last year. If they have similar conditions, it's a track that he does well in. He's up there. It just kind of sees if the car is able to handle that, and how much better the car is. If it's better than the McLarens. But I would say Max just because of last year, similar racing. But I think for McLaren definitely has a shot as well.
So we both agree that Max is going to win next weekend, which is a smart choice for everybody in America.
I have a feeling that McLaren's going to win, but I think just with the history and Max likes Suzuka.
So where do we see Lewis Hamilton finishing? Assuming they don't cheat.
I don't know. I don't know. He's Suzuka's not been always the strongest race for him. When he was with Mercedes and McLaren, when they actually did race at Suzuka, he's not finished poorly. But again, we don't know because we've seen one race where he finished middle of top 10, a sprint where he won, and then finished 5th or 6th. I can't remember in the overall race. So we'll see, and we'll also see with the weather because Suzuka is known for rain. It's known for having either hot, cold, or ideal temperatures. It's really none of anything but that. So it depends on the weather upcoming. I haven't looked at any predictions, but it always depends. I would hope for a wet race because you never know. Because wet races can bring
so much fun.
Drivers up that don't have any shot at winning most of the time.
You know, the wet race I was watching, I think it's the last episode, second to last episode of Drive to Survive. I was trying to finish the season. Got a lot going on. And they had the rain race. And I watched that, and I see like how it's like driving down a semi. You can't see anything.
I don't know how they see.
And they don't. And so like
all that blinking red light.
It was one of the first times I've seen them like, I feel like they didn't show it on the other seasons, like where every driver was saying, box, I can't see. And they're like, and the engineer calmly goes, why do you want a box? Because there's nothing wrong. And he's like, and they're all just saying, I'm going to die out here.
Yeah.
There was like 3 drivers they at least showed, and I'm sure all of them were saying it, that they're like, I don't want to lose my life and all stuff. And it's like putting yourself in their perspective, like how terrifying that is driving that fast.
200 miles an hour in the rain almost.
It's understated, I feel like, how dangerous that is. So
it's extremely dangerous. Those cars are really safe. The tracks are safer than they've ever been, but wet, you're not able to stop as well. Once you lose control and those cars are going sideways through the grass, you're not slowing down that much.
Or as we saw 2 weeks ago, like they touch a white line and they're spinning out because the smooth paint on the white lines.
Yeah,
and like,
which they'd redone the paint, hadn't they? Before that race, that was one of the things.
Well, I think that race because it's not it's like a street or something they use. It's not like used for track, so like
raining there either.
Yeah, so it was super dangerous, but I can't imagine it. And they've had way more rain on other races, but that's the one thing about NASCAR. If the drops hit, they're like, nah,
yeah,
we ain't doing this.
Those cars aren't built for that.
No, they crash already when it's dry, so I can't imagine when it's raining what it'd be like.
One of the most interesting things about NASCAR crashes. Nobody gets hurt.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a whole history and all the injuries and stuff and how they've tried to reduce those. But yeah, bring some chaos into the situation if they did have rain. So it just got announced. EA Sports F125. Max Verstappen is their like sponsor person, but they're going to put Lewis Hamilton on the cover of F125 because he's got that cool red uniform on. And
you're wearing the wrong shirt.
Yeah, I know. I like the shirt. Etsy.
This is Etsy too.
So all you Etsy people,
shout out the small people
taking trademarks. Yeah, we love you. Yeah, so F125 is coming out. I already pre-ordered it because you get 15% off if you had the year before's. So I got a sale. I got a discount. so it still costs too much. But
Still costs too much.
I'm hoping that I can finally navigate the corners without assist this time because it's really hard to steer on that stuff.
I want to get a wheel. I don't have a wheel. I think that'd be easier to make it.
You got one right there?
I'll take it. But I like that race. I haven't played since 23. I played with no turning assist. I still use braking assist and braking line assist. That's the only thing that I use. So I'll probably kill you on the race.
Oh, we're going to have to race each other then, yeah. I'm going to be practicing Las Vegas. That's the only race I will race. Las Vegas, down the strip, throw a little blackjack out there while I'm beating him in F125.
We'll just race Monaco and see if anyone can finish. Simulation or real damage.
Oh, Monaco, let's do it. F125. Anybody wants to challenge us? We'll have a race, and we'll see who wins. I'm practicing. You get if you pre-order it, you get 3 days early access. I got 3 days to practice.
Okay.
And then we'll make it happen. However, EA Sports, this is allegedly the last year of their license right now. They have not renewed it.
Same thing with FIFA.
That's going to be interesting
because they really haven't put enough time and money in the games. The games have been the same
every
season. They want more money every year, and the game's exactly the same. They don't make big enough jumps. They don't do anything with the simulation. They don't do anything with the actual visualization on the game. EA Sports used to be the best. It's in the game, and now it's just a money cow for them.
Oh yeah, not much changes. I know
football and everything.
So NASCAR is actually using iRacing for their fall game. They haven't had a game in like 2 years, and iRacing is like what everybody uses. Max Verstappen, NASCAR racers when they're off. So that game could be maybe the best racing game, honestly, of all time for consoles because it's made by the actual simulator people. So we'll see. However, like next year in F1 is like a huge year with Cadillac coming in, and there's gonna be more driver changes. Ford coming into Red Bull, and I was like, so I feel like that's not a year you want to mess up, and there should be some improvements and some like changes. So we'll see.
You would think, but they're already in development of the game, and I don't think that they're ready for that change yet.
Yeah, it's going to be. I feel like that's this year. I wanted to buy specifically because all the driver changes with Lewis Hamilton on Ferrari, and I thought that'd be pretty fun to play with. And they ain't going to update it on 24, so they could just do them every 2 years, and then
they really could. But then they lose all their money.
Yeah, that's true. They get people like me that are suckers.
I'll wait till it comes out and come back.
So is there any change? We don't see any changes on who's going to win this season based on what's happened so far? Still feel the same way?
I think it's not going to be... I do think it's going to be McLaren. But now with Piastri and with the win, could be a two-driver race from McLaren. And then obviously we'll see some of one of the other tracks. I still think it's way too early to make a real prediction. Max is going to have a jump at some stage. As we talked about, they're going to have that upgrade on the car at some stage, but then everyone's going to be doing their upgrades. So we'll see how well the upgrades work. Maybe they don't. Maybe we'll have a Aston Martin situation like they did last season and the season before, where they start out hot, made a change, and they couldn't figure the car back out, and everybody else made such a jump.
Yeah, I think I want Max to win the championship. I don't know if I've been clear about my favoritism towards Max.
Yeah, we all know.
However, I want him to win for a reason because he's got 4. He needs to win 3 more times. Okay, then somehow Lewis Hamilton at 45 years old or however old he is will get a great car, and then they will battle it out to see who wins.
Who has the most?
The most. Yeah. That's what I want to see, and then they'll both probably wreck, and someone else will win that year, and then they'll match Schumacher at 7, and no one will ever get. But I want to see that. I think it'd be really interesting.
It'd be nice to see it in our life of watching Formula One. I remember hearing about it. My uncle watched F1 religiously when I was a kid, and I'd watch the races with him. At that point, I didn't care for it as much because it was long and boring as a young kid. But I remember Schumacher and how just the space he had between the cars. He was so good. And it would be cool to see it, but at the same time, he's such a legend of the sport, and he is the best of all time. So it would be upsetting to see that.
Speaking of him, there's a Netflix documentary. Have you watched that on Schumacher? It's actually pretty good. I started it. And I started looking into, some of that stuff a little more, and maybe we'll have a discussion on that in the future. But it's really cool. So it actually talks about how good he was in the rain.
Yeah. He's good at everything.
Yeah, and his intensity and competitiveness, does remind me of like Lewis Hamilton. These guys that are great. They already demonstrate that, and so Yeah, it's really worth watching. I don't know what it is with 7 titles because like no one can get past that in racing. Like major. So Dale Earnhardt in NASCAR 7, Richard Petty 7. That's the 2 highest. So nobody can get past 7.
Racing.
So who in motorsports is going to get past 7? F1 has the greatest chance considering the other 2 guys don't drive anymore.
I think Rossi in motorcycle racing has way more than 7.
That doesn't count. So
That's still motorsports. That's extremely impressive. I haven't watched that or really followed it at all. I just know about Rossi's success over there.
yeah, good job to him. Never watched a single one, but
Should look up a video of him driving an F1
I'm sure
car and Lewis.
does he drive an F1 car?
Yeah,
I'll have to watch
there's a
that.
video of him watching that. You
I'll
see the
watch
video of Smokey driving the F1 car and Lewis driving the NASCAR?
No.
Yeah.
Tony Stewart or who is it?
Tony Stewart.
Oh, yeah.
Drove an F1 car many years ago, but it was cool to see what they talked about, how the difference in the cars was, and Lewis loved driving the NASCAR.
Oh, I'm sure it's a blast. NASCAR gets crossovers from F1. They had Jensen Button drive the Garage 56 one in the Le Mans, I think, and so they get that. They had who else they have? They've had a few people come and try they had a Raikkonen or whatever, the Finnish F1. He just drove in the Daytona 500 last year. All of them just say it's like a blast because it's just a ton of fun.
About 10 years ago, I can't remember his name, but he drove for Ferrari, and then he jumped over to NASCAR, and just having that conversation of the differences between the two. I know he talked about it on Top Gear way back in the day, about how the brakes are very minimal in the NASCAR. And that was one thing I think on the video that Tony Stewart talked about how incredible the brakes are and how the downforce works to brake these cars in F1, and how it's a totally different drive.
Well, because you don't need. The brakes in NASCAR. It's like you're not braking as much. It's not like you're going on a sharp 90-degree angle unless you're on a road course. So
another left turn, another left turn.
And so it's got to be pretty wild. So I'm sure that some point maybe there'll be more crossover. Maybe when the American team comes in, that's what I'm hoping. I would like to see. So in NASCAR, Kyle Larson is known as the best driver in the United States, the world probably, but he drives NASCAR. He just won this last week, and he won the Truck Series, Dirt in the little sprint cars, and then he won the NASCAR race all in one weekend. Wow. And so he does all types of racing. So I feel like he did the Indy 500 last year, and I think he had an engine issue or accident, but he was 3rd at the time. So he's pretty solid driver. So I would love to see someone like him, especially he's got a relationship with McLaren, I guess. So somehow get over there.
I don't see that ever really happening anytime soon. I think the crossover is just too big, and NASCAR is very, very only American, and where F1 is worldwide. I think that they would err on the worldwide side, but we've never seen it. Doesn't mean it won't happen. I just think F1 is so stemmed in something so rich, and NASCAR is the opposite, stemmed in bootlegging. It's a really cool dichotomy between the two racing, and I don't think I'd see it, but it would be cool.
Yeah, and speaking of all these different items of racing and the different styles and all that, so the TV ratings, I want to talk about this. I did a quick video on this, multiple posts on X. Everyone's seen everybody talking about it. So this last weekend, the ratings, Formula One race was at 3 a.m. IndyCar was at noon on Fox. Somehow Fox has decided to put NASCAR and FS1 at the same time. So it doesn't make sense. So if you don't watch all three, NASCAR is the top-rated motorsport in the United States. Fox has decided to put that on FS1 and decided to put IndyCar on Fox. Not only that, they've decided to make IndyCar and NASCAR the same time last weekend. It's not a lot of intelligence there. Whoever's running that, I just want to say this. My kid, 7 years old, could have made a better decision. And so you got F1 at 3 a.m. Eastern time starting, beat IndyCar in ratings. It was 800,000 or something like that average. IndyCar, I saw, got beat by professional bowling. It was bad. IndyCar was down 6 on the list. They got beat by the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series. Those are 2 below NASCAR Cup Series. And then a bunch of other stuff, reruns of Married with Children and who knows what else. I'm just kidding. But, it was pretty bad. I thought it was an amazing win for F1. I was that's pretty impressive to pull that many people to be the 3rd or 4th highest, I think maybe 4th highest motorsport, and you're at that late at night. In the U.S., this is just the U.S. That's pretty impressive, and I don't even think that takes into account people that watch on F1 TV. Is actually where I watch the race. So there's a ton of people on there, I'm sure, in the U.S. Like, it was pretty impressive ratings for F1. I think that it's growing definitely in the younger demographic, and that's where the big gap is, I think, in these other sports like NASCAR. And how do you appeal to the younger people? And if you can't do that, the future doesn't look very bright.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I've been preaching it a lot on seeing F1 with Legos, Hot Wheels, all these new products. I go to the store. T-shirts. They got T-shirts in Abercrombie, Fitch, Hollister, all these stores I don't shop at.
Right. So does F1.
Yeah, or I'm saying F1 does.
F1 does.
NASCAR does have some in some of those stores too, which is really smart. But for the most part, the saturation. I mean, we got an F1 movie with Brad Pitt coming out.
Yeah.
Like, they've just mastered like this mass marketing approach, hitting every angles of the United States in a sense. And now you're going to be partnering with Ford.
Yep.
And Christian Horner has specifically said that they're going to use it as solely like engine building, but then access is like commercialized in the United States, because Ford's obviously a huge name. I'm a huge Ford fan. And then you got Cadillac in it. So like they've been really smart about it. And I feel like NASCAR is like, if I was to compare two things, it'd be Amazon and Walmart.
Yeah.
And NASCAR was like Walmart, and like thinking they're going to be like the king forever. And then they just take too long to advance. But they are advancing, so they'll stay, huge. And so it's a matter of how fast they can be innovative and catch the drift of the young people.
Let's just hope it's not a Sears situation for NASCAR.
Oh, what?
They never accepted the change, and they didn't see it coming. They were the biggest at one point, and just disappeared. So
They are, and I've seen some pretty impressive like things with their app and stuff NASCAR's been posting, and it looks like they're trying to get more into that, like stuff that appeals to young people. Like things that people that are on social media. Social media is the new norm for media.
it is.
It's the reason why we're doing these videos here and whatever. Nobody watches mainstream media or TV for the most part. I go after a race, even I check X and I check TikTok to see the stuff that people post rather than going on ESPN. I do not watch like the shows. So it's very interesting, and we'll see what happens as we go forward in the dialogue. All right, well, thank you for listening, and this is Ryan and Conrad.
Thanks, buddy.
And appreciate you listening. Feel free to follow, give comments, feedback, even negative. Love the negative stuff, and the positive helps, but it's more funny to read the negative stuff. So as many comments,
funny stuff.
yeah, super funny. Feel free to give comments. If you're at a race this year, F1 or something, or NASCAR, and we happen to be there, shoot us a message and we'll meet up, maybe. Yeah, thanks for listening.